Alright, so part 2 of episode 1, we're talking about the girl who cried monster and the came from beneath the kitchen sink. Yes. I believe we got to the point where she got the camera. Mm-hmm. Right, so she got the camera, she went back to the library. He forgot to lock the door again, which makes me think that he's just really bad at his job. Because, and I don't even mean his job as a monster, but like if you're a librarian, you're not supposed to do that.
Mm-hmm. Of course. You're not supposed to do that.
But she arrives and he does the same thing. He does the transformation. And, yeah. And then that. And then she takes a picture of him like an idiot, and he notices. And she's like, so stupid.
So stupid.
Yeah, and then which kind of, and then she runs
away.
Yeah.
She apparently doesn't know where the door is.
He corners her, and then I guess she blinds him with the camera, and then crawls under.
What happens?
I believe so, but it isn't well coordinated, so it's hard to tell. She blinds him with the camera, and then crawls beneath his legs.
Hey.
Like right under him.
Wait, there he is. Where? He's there, right between your legs. Well, let me get... he's too clever.
Right. And then she runs out, right? And she runs home, and then the greatest scene happens where he comes to knock on the door, and he's like, "You forgot your backpack." And he's like, "Can I speak with their parents?" And she's like, "No, they aren't here now. I mean, they'll be here soon."
I mean, they're in the bathroom.
Right.
Mom, Dad, are you polishing your gun?
Mom, is Dad still polishing his gun? Right. And given the twist later, at this point, wouldn't she reveal something particular to him to make sure he leaves her alone? And I suppose she's been told not to reveal that particular thing. Yeah. But wouldn't, in this situation, it make sense for her to be like, "You better stay away from me because XYZ"?
Maybe it slipped past her.
Oh, she just didn't think to do that?
Yes, because it's so natural to her.
To hide it?
Mm.
I guess. I mean, that's fair enough. But he just leave it on the front porch, and he leaves it on the front porch. And I mean, honestly, he's not that bad of a guy. If she hadn't been spying on him, he was, he probably wasn't going to hurt anybody. He just, yeah, but only after, because she found out about him, and if she told anybody, then he'd be in trouble.
Okay.
Right?
But
like, he wasn't doing anything malicious. He was just eating
live bugs.
Yes, we all eat things, animals. The only difference is that he's eating bugs.
Dead.
I don't think the problem was that she had was that they were live. The problem was that he transformed into a monster. Like, he didn't do anything wrong. I mean, he chased her, but that was kind of his only option.
That he was eating live bugs.
They're gonna. What's the difference between him killing them when they get in his mouth and them dying beforehand, and he eats them out of a bag? Like, he didn't really do anything wrong.
It's animal cruelty.
Jacob, everything we eat is animal cruelty.
Yeah, but I think being in someone's mouth is more terrifying than...
You don't know that bugs can even feel fear.
I suppose.
He didn't do anything wrong. He just... if she hadn't spied on him, he probably wasn't... It doesn't seem like he was ever going to hurt anybody. Until that point.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess he should have, left town instead of hunting a child. So, okay, strike against him. But, given the circumstances, it made sense what he was doing. But she goes to get the photos developed, and the parents are like, "All right, we'll get your photos developed." She gets the photos developed, and then she runs into him again, which I guess implies he was stalking her. And then Yeah, and then they're like, and the parents are like, "Oh, would you like to come over for dinner?" And he's like, "I would love to." And then he comes over for dinner.
And not sure what his plan was at that point.
Well, I don't think he had. I don't think him coming over for dinner was part of his plan of eating her. Right?
Right.
Right?
Right.
Right.
Maybe. Because he still seems pretty dumb.
Uh-huh. Right.
Right.
No, I think he just came over to have dinner and maybe to creep her out, I guess. And then, like...
To intimidate her.
Yeah, yeah.
To convince her, okay, don't tell them about this thing. I know I tried to kill you and eat you.
But don't.
But
Well,
I'm not going to do that as long as you don't tell anyone.
I mean, it seems like he already knows that no one will believe her. So I guess he is just trying to kill her out of malice. But then he comes over. It's weird that he comes over for dinner. I guess he's just being gracious. But they invite him over for dinner, and then woo, the parents turn into monsters and like weird green vampires with like scales.
I assumed they were lizard people.
Lizard people? They turn into lizard people, but they've got like that, like their heads sort of have like a V shape type thing going on.
Yeah.
And they got the big fangs. I guess they're lizard or snake people, and they.
Snake people.
Yeah, that would make sense. And then we get shots of he's like, and they go, and they do that for like a minute, and then he's dead. I guess they ate him completely, swallowed parts of him.
Yeah.
And they transform back, and they're like, "We're sorry, we didn't believe you." Katie, what's her name? Katie.
Mostly because
we're sorry
you're
we
a
didn't
liar.
believe you. Well, it's been almost 20 years since we had another monster in this neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
Which
and-
makes me wonder what happened to the last monster.
Yeah. So in context, they would probably believe her if she wasn't a liar.
Yeah. They'd be like, yeah, their issue isn't that there's a monster exists. Their issue is that she's constantly talking about monsters. I guess because she's a monster and no one else in this place is, so I guess that makes sense. She's like sort of obsessed with it.
Yeah.
Fair enough. It's weird that the boy is afraid of monsters, considering that he watches his parents turn into snake people and eat this guy. But
he knows that they wouldn't hurt.
no. I know he's not afraid of his parents. That's what I'm implying. It's like if he knows he's going to turn into a snake person, right?
Yeah.
It's weird that he would be afraid of other things. But I guess he knows that monsters exist. And just like he's creeped out by monsters that don't look like them.
Yeah.
It's really kind of stupid, but it works, I guess. And then they're like, that's why we can never tell anybody, and that's why we had to kill him, because if someone finds out he's a monster, people start asking questions, and then we'll get run out of town, right?
And there's no other monster in this neighborhood.
Right. And then they see someone obviously in a mask walking by the window. I mean, I guess and then they see a guy, obviously, and it turns out to be her black friend, and then
who we didn't mention before.
No, we didn't mention. No. We
is.
did mention. We mentioned she had a friend because we mentioned she's walking back with her friend.
Well, that doesn't count.
And she goes like, "Oh, I gotta go back and get my blades." And
I'm gonna be stoked without my blades.
Yeah, right. And then Jesus Christ. And of course, it's him. And then they're like, "What are we gonna have for dessert?" Well, do you like cherry pie? And then they all
just
laugh.
holding this on the coffee table in case that was going to happen.
I mean, I don't know. I don't remember if the cherry pie appeared earlier.
It did.
Okay. And then they all laugh, for an uncomfortable amount of time, and the episode is over.
Okay.
Any thoughts before we move on to the next one?
Let's rate it.
Oh, okay. So, right. So, on a scale of 1 to. What's the spookiest number? 9?
13.
13? Okay, on a scale of 1 monster to 13 monsters, how, I guess, just enjoyable was this episode?
I give it 9 monsters and 5 goosebumps.
Okay.
'Cause that's how many I got watching this.
5 goosebumps out of what?
Out of... No, there's no limit.
Okay. Oh, it's an infinite, puts an infinite possible goosebumps. If so, that means 4 goosebumps is not very much in the grand scale of goosebumps. I mean, I guess that means no number is very much in the grand scale of goosebumps. Alright, so you give it 9. I'm gonna give it... You know what? What's not... 9 is like a 7, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Or like an 8, maybe? I'd give it a... Okay, so I give it a 8 out of 13 monsters. Yeah,
Okay.
I think it was decent, you know?
Yeah.
And got a cool idea behind it,
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some weird stuff, and not a lot actually happens in it, but,
Yeah.
you know. Alright, I guess. I love the line where he goes, what, I don't even get a hi, Dad? Hi, Dad, the librarian is a monster. Kids are very snarky in this series. I like that. Alright, so...
It's the only thing I like about the kids.
Oh, that's the only thing.
The only thing.
Well, I like the fact that they bounce back from seeing monsters like that.
Yeah.
They don't seem particularly disturbed by anything. So...
That's because they're kids.
Yeah, right. I mean, it'd be weird if they were disturbed by it.
Also, they're 90s
things we
kids.
see.
They're
Right.
cool about
Yeah.
everything.
They got rollerblades and they speak like this. Okay, so next episode, I'm gonna.
Came from underneath the kitchen sink.
So I think the first episode decent. This episode, I think a big. The trajectory is like this.
So you think it sucked?
It definitely wasn't as good. It wasn't as good by a long shot. It was. I mean, no, not at all. I mean, first of all, the enemy is a sponge.
What's scary about it is its supernatural abilities, not its physical abilities.
But that isn't scary either, really.
What?
Ooh, it can make people trip and break glass stuff.
Yeah, but the more that happens, the worse it gets.
I guess, but nothing bad ever really happens.
When
So
the dog goes missing,
I get.
they
Yeah,
almost
okay, but
asphyxiate from acid.
is that its fault that they almost asphyxiate? I guess is that one of the bad things that it makes happen?
Yes.
I didn't realize that. I just assumed it was just an accident. So in this episode, they move to a new house. The house is like, I guess, like 3 or 4 blocks away from their old house. So
Yes.
they're kind of in the same neighborhood. They've got a black friend too.
Who has a personality.
Yeah, he actually has a personality.
Not
You know,
a convincing one,
Oh,
but a personality.
right. He's a more fun character than the last guy.
Yeah.
And you know, I guess props
There
for.
can only be one
I-
black friend.
This is the thing, I guess, that was happening in every 90s kids show, where it's like, oh, there's a African American person, and then there's a white person with red hair, and then there's a Chinese person, and then there's a Latino person, right?
Yeah.
That's like every 90s show that had kids. That was, Captain Planet, yeah, Captain Planet, Magic School Bus, It was the same with Are You Afraid of the Dark with the Midnight Society. They had like a fair diversity stretch between them. I mean, obviously there are more white people than anyone else, but at least I guess they tried.
Yeah.
I don't know if we still have that nowadays. Is that a thing we have nowadays, or have we reverted back to like having one character or some ethnicity? I guess I haven't watched kids shows in a long time.
I haven't either.
The only kids shows I have watched recently is like Phineas and Ferb. That one I guess has slight diversity, and then like somewhat, but not much. And then
what do you mean?
What do you mean? What do I mean?
So the
there's
main characters.
Right.
They're
no, but
stepbrothers.
I mean like, no, but
so
I mean
that's a diversity point. And then
that's
there's
diversity?
The girl. Yes. An abnormal family.
Okay, I suppose, sure.
Okay, so then there's the
that.
girl, and then
Isabella.
There's Baljeet, the Indian kid. That's another diversity point.
But he's kind of a stereotype.
No.
Isn't he?
Yes.
But, I mean, I guess it's diversity whether or not he's a stereotype, but and then in Gravity Falls, they don't have much diversity at all.
Buford is German.
Okay, that's not diversity.
Yes.
Diversity is having people who look different, not people who came from different backgrounds historically. I don't think. I mean, okay, fair enough. I mean, I guess there isn't a lot of Dutch representation in American media. So if if you have like a strong Dutch ancestry, then you'd appreciate seeing a white Dutch kid on TV that you can relate to. But that's not what I think of when I say diversity. Well, there's usually, I guess, someone in a wheelchair. I don't know. Point is, I guess, props for them for trying somewhat. At least. I mean, I'm not gonna be like, oh, it's like a marketing ploy. I mean, it probably is, but it's fine, so it's not worth further discussing. I mean, these episodes also don't have a lot of kids, so they can't really do the same thing where it's like, oh, we'll have one of each. Obviously, it's not one of each. I'm being satirical. So they go inside the new house, and then like first things first, she's got the dog. Dog barks at the kitchen sink. She opens up the drawers of the kitchen sink. Lo and behold, there are glowing eyes in there, and that she mistakes for a cat.
Now, cats are well known for their reflective eyes.
Now, there are some pretty stupid excuses in this series.
Mm-hmm.
Like when the kids see the ghosts see like the glowing in the cave, and the old man is like, "Oh, it's Aurora Borealis."
What? Dear God, what is happening in there? Aurora Borealis. The Aurora Borealis. At this time of day, in this time of year, in this part of the country, localized entirely within your kitchen. Yes. May I see it?
No. No. Yeah. But a cat, really? I forget what the dad. He's like, he comes up with an excuse as well that's ridiculous.
This is
but
your
I forget what it
average
was.
sponge.
Oh, he said like the light reflecting off, like I guess because it's wet or something, which is so weird, stupid. So
and it can't be an average sponge. It has no defined shape.
She puts the dog away. She gets attacked by the sponge, I guess. Some china gets broken. The sponge turns back to looking like a regular sponge, and then I guess it crawls around the house all the way to the bathroom.
No, I think it can teleport.
It can teleport?
That's part of its bad luck thing.
Okay. Wait, if it could teleport, then why didn't it, when it was in the ground, it just burrowed itself?
Okay, well maybe it can make itself appear to people to scare them.
It's ill-defined. Point is, it somehow gets in the bathroom. She gets scared by it. She breaks a glass cup, which some idiot precariously placed upon the towel rack. The cup falls, breaks, and then the kid, I guess he steps on one of the pieces. Her little brother, who makes fun of her for being scared of the sponge. It has
pizza for breakfast.
The cold pizza has all the important food groups. I'm a 90s kid. I'm snarky. Was the 90s when they came up with the food groups pyramid? I feel like that was an appropriate time for them to come up with the food groups pyramid.
It's called the food pyramid.
Food pyramid.
Yeah.
Well, does he cut his foot or does he cut his hand?
He cut his foot.
So is this
he walked on the glass.
They don't go to school in this. So is this take place during the? Oh no, they do go to school.
But not, because they have to.
Or maybe this is the weekend and then they go to school the next day. No, but I mean they go to school to talk to the lady, the teacher.
Of course.
So, or maybe they weren't attending. But why would she be? So it must be during. I don't know. Okay, it's not worth thinking about. So then what happens next? Then the dog goes missing, and then she rides her bike and she hits a log.
Yeah.
And I guess that amounts for a commercial break in this series. Why not? And then, they're like, okay, this sponge has got to go. And then, like, she reveals, the sponge is evil to her brother and her brother's friend. And then they bury it, and they're like, problem solved. But that doesn't solve anything.
I know it was a long shot.
What?
But why didn't they try showing that article in the encyclopedia to the parents?
Would that have proved anything?
I mean, it would make it more believable
that
guess. Something is on record
what it is. I mean, the parents can't help them, or it's not an adventure. Like, the book isn't
that's a dumb excuse.
The Goosebumps books aren't like, they figure out how to convince the parents, and then the parents help them stop the monster. Instead, it's like the kids have to deal with this thing, and they're pretty much alone.
Okay.
And the adults around them are either suspicious or, like, weird, or either eccentric, suspicious, or completely negligent. So,
yeah.
So, then, so, what happens then? Okay, so they're like, they go back into the backyard, and it being buried, of course, made everything worse, because now all the plants are dying.
Well, that was pretty bad.
Yeah, so then they take the sponge out, and they're like, we gotta do something with this, so they take it to the science teacher, and the science teacher's like, it just looks like a regular sponge, and they're like,
no defined shape.
Yeah, just please, like, dissect it or something. And she's like, fine, whatever. And I guess it implies that she dies, but she isn't there.
The beaker explodes. Maybe that had some sort of toxic element.
I don't think it did, though. Because there'd be, like, police tape up if she was, like, dead. If they found her dead in the classroom.
Okay.
So I guess nothing happened to her, and she just went home and didn't dissect it. And then the kids are like, we found out about, like, this thing. We found out, like, you can't give it away, or it'll kill you.
And it's so... Yeah, and then, so how is it not technically giving it away when she leaves it at the school?
Okay, and here's the problem that I have with Goosebumps is, and I guess it fits the whole cheesy theme, but, like, often they're like, at the last minute, somebody figures out something that will stop the monsters.
Yeah.
That's pretty much. I mean, I guess that's not every time. Sometimes it's foreshadowed, but a lot of the time it's just like, it's not even foreshadowed. It just appears. I guess r.l.stine was making it up as he went along. So they go to the.
Quite a great person.
They go to they go to the school. I mean, he brought joy to maybe hundreds of thousands of children.
He sold 400 million copies worldwide.
Okay, but were those people happy? brought joy to hundreds of millions of children worldwide. So then they go back to the school and they're like, oh, we gotta take care of this thing ourselves, I guess. And then they accidentally, the janitor actually gets knocked out, and then like they try and, what is she tries to reach for it, but then the thing tips over, and then acid spills, and then they like
the janitor wakes up, and apparently
well, at first they figure out that the music makes the happy music makes the sponge recede. It makes it smaller. It makes it shrink.
By means of Photoshop smear.
Photoshop smear. Yeah, I mean, the special effects were not great. This was a kids show in the 90s. Don't think they had a great budget. I mean, actually, the special effects with the sponge, where it like opens its eyes and its mouth, I think those are actually pretty good. Just like the special effects for the librarian guy, whatever his name was, Mr. Dusk. I don't know. Were pretty good, but
Mr. Big Eater.
The rest of the
You know, that was probably foreshadowing the fact that his name was Big Eater.
Oh, his name was Big Eater?
No. I made it up.
Oh, okay. Alright, so the special effects for the sponge are great, but the special effects for like the acid and then like the growing and shrinking, not great. But like, okay, this is my issue, is they have a book that tells them about it. Just say somewhere in the book that like happiness combats it or something, and then they don't exactly know how to combat it with happiness, even though they know that happiness combats it. And then they figure out, and then they can hear the music and they can figure it out. Like you can set that stuff up with like one line.
Yeah.
But I guess they were strapped for time or something.
Yeah.
So the acid spills, and then instead of opening a window like sensible people who understand how gas works, moving. Moving. Well, yeah, it'll fill the whole classroom probably. But I mean, like opening a window so that you get fresh air and you don't asphyxiate. They start freaking out, and then the janitor wakes up and he grabs a fire extinguisher, and then he sprays the acid. Which, by the way, don't think that's how it works, but okay.
Maybe that's how it works.
It's interesting that the sponge itself apparently doesn't work like a sponge.
Oh yeah.
Like it doesn't absorb water.
Probably because it isn't a sponge. Or it's incredibly old.
It's a thing that looks. It's disguised as
It's no longer able to
it's
absorb
like,
because of how.
It's like that moth
used.
that disguises itself as a hummingbird. Right?
A moth that disguises itself as a hummingbird. I haven't heard of that before.
Yes, it's called the hummingbird moth.
Yeah, I think I heard that, maybe.
And it exists in New Jersey, I think. It might exist in some other states.
It's funny because hummingbirds are the most bug-resembling birds.
Oh, you mean the way they move and act?
Yes.
Yeah, it is weird.
Yeah.
Because hummingbirds are very much evolved from the way that bees act.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to the evil sponge. They kill it with kindness, and they get sprayed with the fire hydrant.
They just weaken
it.
Okay,
they weaken it with kindness, and then you cut to it in like a Hawaiian background, listening to like happy music on the radio.
Yes. And their dog comes back. And
by the way, if one of the parents ever come into that room and they see that she has a sponge and she has the sponge listening to music, I think they're gonna have to have a talk with her. But the dog comes back, so yay! And then what does he bring with him? It's a vampire potato. A vampire potato that was earlier foreshadowed. You can't foreshadow the fact that happiness weakens the sponge monster. But you can foreshadow your twist ending where a vampire potato shows up. Congratulations, Goosebumps.
Yeah, so the moral of the story is...
Don't do anything or bad things will happen. Oh, we should totally...
suppress them.
Okay, so we should...
And once new problems come about, you will no longer be able to deal with them because you're too busy suppressing your old problems.
or you want to be able to suppress the old problem because you're busy dealing with the new one. Either way, you can't handle two things at once. Okay, so if that's the moral of this episode is you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. I don't know, like, because she deals with that, and then just the vampire potato shows up for no reason. So I guess, like,
and if anything bad happens,
I guess it means bad luck. Bad luck is going to happen to you no matter what. Is the moral of the story. And then what's the moral of the last story? Is don't lie, or people won't believe you when you're telling the truth. Or is it?
Yes. Yes.
Or maybe, like, don't. Because the whole thing would have been avoided if she just hadn't, like, watched him eating bugs. So maybe don't spy on people, even when they're making weird noises.
And eating bugs.
Actually, especially if an adult is making weird noises, kids, don't spy on them.
Don't do anything with them.
Yeah, just get out of there with your rollerblades. Just go.
Buzz out.
Yeah, buzz out. So how many sponges out of 13 would you give It Came From Underneath the Kitchen Sink? I will tell you this: the book of It Came From Underneath the Kitchen Sink, the cover art for these books is usually pretty good. The cover art where it's just like a pair of eyes like sitting in the darkness. The cover art is actually, I think, pretty menacing.
Yeah.
But the whole idea is just kind of ridiculous, which I suppose it's supposed to be ridiculous. He wasn't even trying to be scary when he came up with the killer sponge.
I give this episode 6 sponges and an OxyClean.
Okay, so that's like... Thank you, Jacob. Thank you for
and
that.
A ShamWow.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
An OxyClean and a ShamWow. Wow, you really need to... This episode is really going to be cleaned up by the time you're done with it. So 6 is below average. You think this is a below average Goosebumps episode?
I said 7.
You said 7? No, you said 6. You said 6.
Fine, 6. Yes, it's below average. It was
What did I give the last one? I gave the last one 8?
8, yes.
Right, which is about like 7, I guess. Yeah, I'd say this one is like a... I don't know, I guess the bit... It has like... There are moments that are entertaining when they're like, you're such a beautiful sponge, right? Like, you work so well and all that. I guess it's kind of entertaining because of how nonsensical it is. Especially when... And how... I guess they really lean into like the corniness. Yeah. Where he goes like, when I grow up, I want to be a sponge just like you. But other than that, like, not a lot happens, I guess. I guess it's enjoyable enough, so 7, yeah.
Yeah.
Slightly worse than the last episode. Not as much intriguing going on, and twist ending is kind of nonsensical.
Alright. Was really a twist.
Oh, that the vampire potato would show up?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could see it coming, yeah.
Also, it wasn't a twist.
What do you mean it wasn't a twist?
It doesn't affect the main storyline at all. It's just, it's more of a cliffhanger than a twist.
Okay, well, every episode has to end with a twist or a cliffhanger.
Okay.
Then, alright? I mean, like, usually both at once, but sometimes I guess not. Well, it's supposed to be subverting your expectations, right? So you didn't expect that a vampire potato would show up, therefore it's a twist. That's not like a real twist where it's like, oh, it turned out the parents were sponges the whole time, but but it is like, you know, like it's not, you didn't expect that to happen, but it does, I guess. I mean, commitment, I guess props to r.l.stine to committing to have that in every single Goosebumps book. Maybe because he couldn't figure out how to end them otherwise. So that wraps up the first episode. I guess the second part of the first episode.
Noticeably longer.
Yes.
Than the previous episode.
Well, yeah. So I guess, yeah, and I guess the next episode will be Cuckoo Clock of Doom, and then Welcome to Camp Nightmare Part 1. Yeah.
Not sure how we can do that.
We can split it into 2 parts.
Because...
We can talk about part 1, and then in the 3rd episode we can talk about part 2.
That's it. Okay. Let's do that.
Well, do you want to do an episode where we just talk about the Cuckoo Clock of Doom, and then do an episode where we cover parts 1 and 2 of Welcome to Camp Nightmare?
Yes.
I don't want to spend an episode just talking about the Cuckoo Clock of Doom.
Okay, fine.
Because I don't think it's a great enough episode to... I mean, I guess it's not bad, but it's like... It's kind of weird, isn't it? Like, it'll probably be pretty short. There isn't, like, a ton to...
Okay.
I mean, I guess there's some stuff to discuss.
We'll figure it
out. Sure. We'll figure it... You know what? We'll figure it out. Don't worry about it. It'll be handled.
Anyway, punch that like button.
Do you have anything spooky you want to say to leave us off on?
No, I don't.
Remember, kids.
I have anything.
Remember, kids. Your parents may be snake monsters in disguise. Snake monsters in disguise will have no qualms about eating a weird slug alien monster.
Yeah.
So, if you do find a monster, just lure him to your house and make sure your parents are really hungry. Oh, and
you have nothing but hair and clothes. It's like a magic trick.
And do they even like cover up the clothes? When did her friend see those clothes?
Nothing was there.
Oh, they just ate his whole body, but they didn't mess up his clothes. And don't investigate when you hear weird noises.